Hello and welcome again to yet another episode of Martinis with Nick. I'm here today with Philadelphia theater artist Dan Hodge.
Hi.
Dan Hodge is a Philadelphia-based theater artist and a proud co-founding artistic director of the Philadelphia Artists Collective, where he directed The Duchess of Malfi, Mary Stuart, Timon of Athens, and All's Well That Ends Well. In addition to performing in a number of productions for the company and creating his one-man Rape of Lucrece,
Yeah.
as a member of Curio Theater Company, he has directed The Tempest, The Real Inspector Hound, Othello, and Death of a Salesman. A busy actor in the region, he has appeared at the Walnut Street Theater, the Arden, the Wilma, and the PAC. Do you say PAC or PAC?
PAC.
PAC.
Yeah.
His work in Around the World in 80 Days at Delaware Theater Company won him a Barrymore for leading actor, and his Ruffman in Fair Maid of the West for the PAC won a Barrymore for supporting actor. And today, he's hoping to be Barrymore nominated for most muscles he can shovel into his gullet. Stay tuned. Dan, cheers.
Cheers.
To both of you. Thank you for coming and agreeing to do this for me.
My pleasure.
I've been experimenting.
That's nice.
I've just been telling Dan here, I've been experimenting with martinis lately. It's part of my 20-year project. So this is actually a mix of vodka, gin, and vermouth. And I think we're,
Yeah?
I think we're approaching an elixir here.
No, I would call it a success.
All right. And judging from that sound, I don't think it turned out very well at all.
The Duchess of Malfi was actually the thing that gave rise to becoming an artistic director. The company kind of got founded by some like-minded artists. Mm-hmm. The notion being like, well, we'll do this play and see what happens. And if it goes well, maybe we'll do another one. And it went well enough, we thought, well, we'll do another one. And it wasn't until we had our first failure that we realized that we actually had a theater company, because we thought, well, that didn't go well at all. We should still do another one.
The premise notwithstanding,
Sure.
because I have seen Pericles, and oh boy, that thing has problems.
It's got real problems, but it's also satisfying as shit.
Really?
Pericles is a ball. It's an adventure play.
It is.
It's often the trouble with not only the B-sides, the deep cuts of Shakespeare, but the main ones is they're often done so poorly.
Right.
I mean, you end up with museum-based theater. The thing that I say when I go into rehearsal is nobody does the plays anymore. They don't do the plays. They do the tradition of the play.
Okay.
You know? And so there is this kind of calcified thing that has formed around the quote great plays to where we can't actually see them anymore or see what they are about.
So you're saying it's less problematic when you're doing the B-sides
Well, yeah,
because people aren't as precious about them.
it's very true. And the B-sides, because they're less familiar, have a chance to be very surprising. And there's this notion of them as bad or as boring or as just not as good. And the fact is they yield an amazing amount of fruit. We just don't have the familiarity with them to immediately hold on to those things. We don't have the warm, fuzzy Shakespeare memories of those plays, you know. There's a kind of weird...
So I'm just thinking of strangling your wife in bed. We don't have that warm,
Well,
fuzzy...
you know, but I mean, it's like, we think of, I mean, the things that we think of are the tragedies, but even then it's like, we have these comfortable worlds within which Othello and Hamlet and even King Lear operate, where we go, we know what that looks like to us. Whereas when you get into hairier territory, like even something that's modestly familiar, like The Merchant of Venice, people get really antsy about it, and it's a marvelous goddamn play. Really marvelous. Complicated in the 20th and 21st centuries. But I don't think, again, I think if you do a deeper reading of the play, even some of those questions fall away. You You know, I think the worst play he wrote is As You Like It, and that's one that gets done. What a piece of crap that is. But let's say that the premiere of that goes very poorly. And the audience is booing and hollering and throwing stuff, and it's the pandemonium. And Shakespeare grabs a sheaf of paper and a quill, and he walks out on stage and goes, "What do you want?" And the audience just yell, "We want cross-dressing, we want this, we want the court, we want the forest, we want this stuff." And he just, fine. And he writes a play called As You Like It, where all this stupid shit happens that nobody cares about. And he writes himself into the play as Jaques and gives himself all the best speeches. And at the end, everyone goes, "We're going to get married." And he goes, "I'm going to a cave," and leaves and proceeds to write King Lear.
This is your theory.
I believe that it's true.
Therefore, it must be.
It has to be. If you, I think we've all learned recently, if you say something enough, it has to be.
I was just about to, yes. Well done. Well done, sir.
You're going to cut all that out, right?
Absolutely not.
Oh, completely.
Do me a favor and hand me that picture.
This whole thing?
That old thing.
I was hired to direct Richard III for Commonwealth Classics, which was a production that toured parks in the greater Philadelphia area. Mm-hmm. And I think if you're not going to do a deep, dark, psychological Richard III to tour parks. It's just not going to happen. So I says, well, what are we going to do? So I turned it into a horror movie, a loud, splashy, trashy, fun event. We got music from Hammer Horror Films and structured the show so that everybody that Richard killed came back as another character, and everybody talked to them as though they were themselves. But Richard could only see like dead Clarence. You know, they had like white around the eye or dark around the eyes and white makeup, and were zombies. And it was the zombie Richard III. And people who loved Shakespeare got really mad at me about it. But the 12-year-olds in the audience loved it, and that's who that show was for. I don't really care about Mammoth that much. I mean, I'm interested in Mammoth, but I don't really care.
Hang on a second. Okay, go ahead.
Mammoth, the screenwriter and director, is, I think, admittedly slightly less successful.
Well, except that he won an Oscar for The Untouchables.
And I'll give you The Untouchables. I had to think about that for a second, but
Just saying, he's got some success.
he's got some success.
Yeah.
But for those, you get other things that are less successful.
You bet.
The Rises and Falls.
Red Belt.
Well, I mean, you know, if you want to get into that territory, like
Maybe.
Martin Landau's got an Oscar, but Space 1999. I mean, come on, man. See, you know.
I'm sorry, what were you going to say about
Don't-
Space 1999? I'm not sure I understand what you
I may have to quit this production right now if we're going to start bad talking Space
you bet.
1999.
I'm just saying.
Yeah,
What are you saying?
there may be an uprising going on.
Yeah,
right now,
finish
I
that
think.
sentence.
All right. Well, okay. In a less controversial.
And cut.
I just dogged on Mammoth. Where do we go from here?
Let's talk about Mother Teresa now.
Sure.
Oh, that old bitch.
Wow.
And there's
Oh,
your hidden
come on.
talent. There's your hidden talent for after
No.
this. Trashing the grades.
You know, I'm not saying that I'm just glad that she's dead.
Screw Calcutta.
Yeah, I don't really have... It's not going to have a problem with her per se. It's just,
You know.
the world's a better place without her.
Oh man, this is not how we thought this was gonna go.
I had a pretty good idea this was. What is on your bucket list of plays to direct or act in?
I want to play Cyrano de Bergerac.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Rostand?
Yes, Rostand. Is there smoke in your kitchen?
I don't have to answer your question.
Oh, okay.
What's on?
Yeah.
There's
Okay.
a lot of smoke, honey.
Oh my yes.
What are you burning?
Roasting sweet potatoes, but it wasn't supposed to do this.
I don't think we have the same definition of roasting.
No.
See, this is what I'm doing here. Like,
You're saving the house from burning
saving the
down.
house from burning down. Does that absolve me of Space 1999? Theater is an art form that takes all comers. There's room for everybody in the theater, which is both its greatest asset and at times can be its downfall. because I think the reason most theater sucks, and most theater does suck, is the lack of rigor or intelligent intent. I talked to a group of students recently at University of the Arts. I was invited to speak to them after a show that I had been in. And these are kids that want to be in the theater. They want to be actors. They want to be creative artists. And I says, I want to be very clear with you guys. I've been an actor, a professional actor, for in the neighborhood of 15 years. Most of the plays that I have been in have been bad. And I have been bad in most of those plays. You know, I've been good in bad plays. I've been bad in good plays. But the number of times where the stars have aligned to create something that we might dare to call art have been extremely limited, and that's just the nature of how this works. I don't think we allocate the time to projects to ensure their success. I don't think we certainly don't allocate the money. Nobody's interested in good theater. Because theater, like anything else, has become product. And it is a thing that we shove out in hopes that maybe people will buy tickets and commodify it. Most theater sucks because most people suck. I mean, when you really want to get down to it, like, it's really, really hard to do well.
Sure. I'm uncomfortable just sitting next to you, quite frankly.
Well, yeah, I have that effect on people. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
And and this isn't me standing on the mountaintop pointing at everybody else, because I'm certainly fucking guilty. I do lots of bad work, and I am lazy and horrible. I am. Absolutely, I'm lazy and horrible. So that's why. And the people who pretend like they are not lazy and horrible are, I think, even more culpable.
Wow, that might be the most crotchety answer. I ask everybody that question. That's the last question I ask every one of my interviewees, and that might be the most crotchety. It's awesome. It's awesome. You might have out-crotchety Bruce Graham.
Well,
Yeah. Dan, Nick, I want to thank you so much for coming and agreeing and having all this. And I want to thank my viewers again for wasting another perfectly good 13 minutes watching one of these crappy things. And yeah, so stay tuned after the credits to see Dan Hodge's hidden talent.
there once was a man from Nantucket who kept all his cash in a bucket, till his daughter named Nan ran off with a man, and as for the bucket, Nantucket. That's all I got for you. Space 1999, the show that wishes it was Battlestar Galactica.
Hey, I had a Space 1999 lunchbox.